What's up, everybody? Welcome back to the Be That Guy podcast. My name is DJ Ligori, and today's episode is going to be in response to our previous episode that we just released with my good friend Kailey Mccafferty. We have gotten a lot of absolutely fantastic feedback from that episode from both guys and women. And today what I'm going to do is I'm going to basically do a quick review of some of the things that we talked about in that episode. Real quick, I'm just turning off my notifications on this so I can be focused and locked in here. We're gonna do a quick review of some of the things that we talked about in that episode, and I'm gonna dive a little bit deeper into them. Today I have about 4 different things that I wanna talk about. And the first, I'm not gonna talk about the ick too much because the ick is, it's kind of difficult, I think, to actually talk about because, and Kailey even mentioned this, it's like kind of hard to actually describe it. It's more of like a feeling, just a super big turnoff. And I think that both women get the ick and guys get the ick. I just think we might describe it as different things. And so that's gonna be, for example, one of the things that we'll talk a little bit about. But today what we're gonna do, we're gonna talk about the ick, we're gonna talk about listening, we're gonna talk about authenticity, emotional availability, and why as guys, we sometimes might struggle with that, and kind of reframing a different way to look at basically explaining what you're experiencing instead of feeling. I think guys, we connect better to experiences versus feelings. And what I'm going to talk about today might help in your relationships and just, your relationships with other people, and I think your relationship with yourself. All right. So before we get into today's episode, always super grateful if you like, rate, review, subscribe to the Be That Guy podcast. My goal is to try to get this out to as many guys who are in the ages of kind of 18 to 22, guys who might be struggling with a little bit of stress and don't want to talk about it, might want to be more confident, develop better habits, and be more disciplined and consistent in their pursuits. My goal is to kind of help these guys with some of the stuff that we talk about on this show. All right. So also, if you haven't already listened to the episode with Kailey, I highly recommend you go listen to that episode. It was phenomenal. Like I said, I got a ton of really good feedback from it. Kailey was super authentic on it. She was very open, very honest with a lot of her answers that I think as guys we're gonna want to hear. And so it made me very excited to start to interview more women like Kailey, because I think we need to understand what they're thinking about and what we might be missing as guys and how we can change, right? Not just for women, yet as we can become better men ourselves, all right? So first thing that we're gonna talk about is the ick. So Kailey and I, we talked about the ick, and this is something that I did not realize it was this big of a problem, good Lord. But when I actually posted this and I put like a poll on Instagram, and I asked the question, give me your most creative definition or example of when you got the ick. And holy cow, the answers that I got back were incredible. On a third date, a guy made me slow dance with him in the living room to no music. When people walk on their toes and have that little bounce. When she poured her milk in the bowl before putting the cereal in the bowl. Men checking out other women while we were on a date together. Didn't know the words to a song, but tried to sing it anyways, like mumbling. When she's out every single weekend. If she has a side tattoo with a belly button ring. And when she only has guy friends. And so, and then there was the other one. My husband never putting the bread or butter away when he makes toast. So as we can see, these are pretty funny things, yet these are things that just kind of make us uncomfortable, right? And they turn us off a little bit. And I think it's very hard to describe exactly what the ick is. And I think this is also very similar to having someone describe exactly how they feel. I think emotions can get a little messy sometimes. And it's more like, I don't know if I can fully describe it, yet I know it when I see it. All right. So I think a couple things for us as guys to be aware of is we don't have to try to become somebody that we're not in order to get a woman to like us, or in order to actually just get anybody to like us, right? If we want to have, more friends, whatever it might be. Famous Jordan Peterson line, which I've said many times, right? It's not the question of how do I get women to like me. It's the question of how do I become a man that women want to be with. And so one of the things that I wrote down was confidence and calm energy are attractive. Desperation, overcompensation, or a lack of self-trust are unattractive. And I think when we try to be somebody that we're not, when we try to overdo it, I think that's when we can possibly give somebody the ick. And I think as humans, we are very good with identifying somebody who is authentically being themselves. And that's what I think we are really, really attracted to at our deep core, because I think what it does is it oozes strength, it oozes agency, and it oozes protection and security. And those are things that we as humans want to be around because we're biologically wired to try and avoid death. And those things are basically the antidote to death, right? Safety, security, and things like that. And so as guys, what can we do to essentially avoid giving maybe our buddies the ick or even women the ick? I think this thing around authenticity, I'm gonna hit a little bit more on this in a couple more minutes. Yet being yourself. And I think the fear is, if I am my true selves and they don't like me, what do I do next? And I have felt that before, because I've been very honest with people. I'm like, I'm a little weird sometimes. I say some things that are a little intense. I act pretty rash and irrational sometimes. I walk into coffee shops and I go, whoa, and I yell and I'm loud and I make eye contact with people and I say hi to people. It's like, sometimes that can be a lot. I get it. And there's people who I've been with who are like, you're kind of brutal to be around. It's like, cool, you're probably not for me. I got it. And that's fine. Yet there are people who are like, dude, I love being around you. It's so much fun and it's so enjoyable and I feel safe and I feel good. It's like, cool, then you're my people, right? Let's rock. So I think it's all about finding your right people who aren't going to necessarily be turned off by the authentic and real you, all right? So remember, confidence and calm energy are attractive. Desperation, overcompensation, or lack of self-trust is what is probably gonna push people away and possibly give people the ick. And one last thing that was really funny, I had a bunch of people message me about this one when we posted this this podcast specifically about this topic. I had one woman reach out to me and she said that she made a PowerPoint actually about one of the things that gave her the ick. And her and her friends had like a PowerPoint party, which is awesome. I've never thought of like you and your friends getting together and each person making a small PowerPoint on like a topic that they're passionate about. And so she's like, can I please send you this PowerPoint? And I'm like, yeah. She sent it to me and oh my God, I could not stop laughing with her. Thing was guys who wore the thong sandals, which, and I'll put her on blast about this. My sister said to me, she goes, guys who wear thong sandals are a no-go and that is the biggest ick I've ever had. And personally, I'm kind of in that same boat. I think that's a little weird. Like, let's throw on some Adidas or Nikes or Under Armour sandals. A little bit more athletic, right? Can probably make a move a little bit quicker. So the thong sandals are not a huge thing. And I've had some confirmation from a couple of women that those are horrible outfit choices as well. And this person had made a PowerPoint on the whole uncomfortableness of men who wear these open-toed thong sandals, and it was so funny. I could not stop laughing. So it's a real thing out there, guys. So let's just be aware of our outfit choices there. All right, so the second thing that I want to talk about is listening. And if you've been following me for a while, you know that I talk a lot about listening. You know that I talk a lot about how if you are a guy who listens, you will be 99% ahead of every other guy. And a lot of this has to do with our ego. As men, we are wired to protect and provide. And I think the majority of us think that I need to talk in order to show that I can protect and provide. When really, I genuinely believe that a smart, strong, and secure man is a really good listener. And he allows people to express what they're experiencing without interjecting their thoughts. And so I actually have a cool story to kind of start this one out with. And I've told this story in a post a while ago. When I was living back at home in Rochester, New York, a friend of mine, I was up in my room and I was actually working on a project. It was like a Friday night, a bunch of people were going out. She walked in our room, said hi. I asked her how she was doing, and she sat down on my futon and literally just started talking. And I just turned and I listened to her for about 15 minutes. And at the end, she got up and she walked over to me and she gave me a hug. And she just said, thank you for listening. And I realized in that moment that I did not say, I think I maybe asked her one question to like start off the conversation. And then I just listened, and I genuinely was curious about what she was saying back to me, because this was one of my friends and I cared about her. And she explained what was going on in her life, and I just sat there and I listened. And I remember the look in her eye was so appreciative of me just being there and giving her the space to kind of get these things out into the world. And I could tell that she had wanted to kind of get it out, yet I didn't think she had the proper opportunity, or somebody hadn't been giving her that opportunity to kind of get it out. And I just listened to her, and I could tell that she really appreciated it. And that was a huge insight to me, to sometimes we don't need to try and solve people's problems. We sometimes just need to give them the space to actually express what they're going through, and just listen to them, and don't try to solve the problem unless they say, can you help me solve this problem? It's like, cool, let's start brainstorming, right? Let's figure this out. Yet a lot of the times we just need to verbalize what the hell is going on in our life, because we have it all in between our ears. And sometimes we feel like we have such a storm going on in our head, and we just want to release some of that into the world. And we would love to release that onto somebody who is actually kind enough to listen to it, to not judge us, and to simply just be there and hold that space for us. And so Simon Sinek calls this sitting in the mud, which is a really great term. And I have 4 people in my life personally who I call my mud sitters. These are people who I just sometimes might need to text or call and be like, yo, I got a lot of shit going on in my noggin right now. I just need to get this out. And they're like, cool, call me. And I literally will call them, and I'm just like, this is what's going on. Or I'll text them this long paragraph. I'm like, this is what's going on, and I don't need to be fixed right now. I just wanted to kind of get this out. And I can genuinely say that each time I've done that, it just feels better. It just feels better, because now it's not all stuck inside of my heart or my brain. And so I want you guys to think about, if you're a guy listening to this, or even if you're a woman listening to this, who is the friend in your friend group who's the quiet one that listens? I want you to think about who that person is, because that person is what I believe to be the leader of the group. This is the person who is suppressing their ego, letting other people kind of express what they're experiencing and what's going on in their lives, and they're good enough as they are. They don't need to continually, interject their ideas and their opinions about certain topics. Yep, they still do when they want to, yet the majority of their presence is really around listening. And I think what listening requires is ego control. And I want to say that again, because I think it's very important. Listening requires ego control, because a lot of the times when we're saying something, we're often trying to express what we know, right? Or what's going on in our lives. And if we're listening, we're actually reversing that effect, and we're allowing somebody else to do it. And that's where we're kind of suppressing that ego, which I think when we can have better control over our ego, we're actually going to allow other people to experience more of a positive interaction with us, which is in turn going to make them more attracted to us, and it then is going to actually make them want to be around us a little bit more. All right. Highlight how presence is a rare and powerful thing. I want to tell a quick story too. When I was in Guatemala a couple months ago, I met this man who was very quiet, yet he had a very stoic and powerful presence about him. He didn't say much, yet when we asked him what he thought, his comments were fantastic. And I told him at the end of the weekend with him, I said, hey, I just want to say thank you for who you are and the way that you show up. I want to be like you one day. I want to have that very calm and powerful presence about me where I don't need to talk to feel powerful. I can just listen, and I can just be around good people and observe and learn and improve my self-awareness just by what I'm learning. And he gave me a big hug. We had a great moment together, and I really respected who he was. And so I think that if you are a guy in between those ages of 18 to 22, and you can be that calm, powerful, confident guy who doesn't always need to express what you're thinking and merely allows guys to express what they're thinking around him, and you're that guy who listens, right? Be that guy who listens. I think you become this guy that other people want on their team, which is a really, really powerful thing to have, right? You become the guy that others want on their team, all right? If you are willing to be that guy that listens, all right? Whether it's to your guy friends or whether it's to women, okay? So that was section number 2 on listening. Section number 3, emotional availability without being soft. I was out in a bar a couple months ago in St. Pete. I was having myself a night, and met this beautiful woman in the line, and we started talking, and she said that she wanted a emotionally available man. And I said, yeah, I feel like every woman is actually looking for an emotionally available man. And we had a great conversation on what emotional availability is, what emotional intelligence is. And Kailey and I had this awesome conversation in the last podcast, episode 194, which I highly suggest you go in. It's probably about 3/4 of the way through, on what emotional intelligence is, what emotional availability is, and how we can actually, as guys, become more emotionally available. Yet here's the thing. There's this guy who I've been recently watching more of his videos. His name is Scott Galloway, and I would say he's probably one of the leading individuals in masculinity today. He's fantastic. I really enjoy listening to him. He's kind of stoic in the way that he presents things, but he's very accurate, and I really believe a lot of the things that he says. And he said that it's not just about emotional availability, and it's not just about emotional intelligence, right? If you have a guy who has $0 and zero muscle mass, but he's extremely emotional intelligent, do you think a woman is going to want to be with him? The answer is no, all right? Emotional intelligence and emotional availability are just part of becoming a man that, 1, you are proud of, and 2, that a woman or whoever you're attracted to would want to actually be with. And there's 3 areas that I personally think are very important, and I heard this said once by an individual, like a colleague of mine, said muscle, money, and mindset, right? Muscle is just your physical attributes, the way you look. I think physical health is the number 1 thing that every guy should make a priority in their life, getting to the gym, doing hard things, because it helps in every other area of their life. Second is money. Have skills to generate an income. Right? If you think about, as men, there are three P's, which Scott Galloway talks about: provide, protect, and procreate. Provide is merely how are we providing for not only ourselves, yet our friends, our family, our loved ones, our partner, in the form of an income, right? It's important to make some money, figure out some skills, develop some skills that are income generating skills. And you don't need school to do that. There are so many courses online, there are so many things on YouTube, on Spotify, all over the world that can help you generate skills, that can help you develop skills to generate an income, all right? Second thing when it comes to, so that's providing, protecting, the second P of a man is really about I believe your physical and mental attributes, right? If something goes off and you're this skinny little guy who has zero confidence, and you have a girl next to you or a woman next to you, and you need to protect, and you just need to put your arm around her, right? Or just get her out. I'm not saying you got to fight like crazy, but that's something good to have in your toolkit, right? It's good to look like a strong, capable man, right? These are things that women or the people that you're attracted to are going to want to have in their life, right? And so the last thing is mindset, right? How do you think, right? What are your beliefs? Are you somebody who's just a victim to everything, and you point the blame at everybody, and you think that the world is just out to get you? Or are you somebody who points the finger at yourself, and you realize that you have agency, and you realize that your life is based upon the decisions that you make? That's a much more attractive quality. That's somebody personally that I want to be with, all right? So on a side note, right now, bringing it back to kind of emotional availability, I asked, one of the things I asked Kailey was, can we ever be too emotionally available? And I wrote down here, it's not about just expressing all of your emotions and crying all of the time. Frankly, I would really not want that at all. It's more about being able to articulate what you're experiencing and saying it in a confident manner, right? I say this all the time, that guys, we don't want to feel like we're weak, because it goes against those 3 P's of protecting, providing, and procreating. So how can we talk about things that we've already been told guys typically don't talk about, emotions or feelings and things like that? How can we talk about these in a confident way? I believe that the best way to do this is to talk about what you're experiencing, right? Hey, I'm really stressed about growing this business because I don't know if I'm smart enough. I don't know if I even have a good enough idea. Am I fulfilling enough? Am I fulfilling the services enough, right? And this is all causing me anxiety, and it's causing me to really doubt a lot of my self-worth and all of this, right? That might not feel that great. Yet here's what I could say of, hey, here's what I'm experiencing right now. I'm trying to build this business. It's a little difficult, yet, hey, maybe that's part of the fun and part of the challenge. I'm trying to articulate, am I fulfilling to what I genuinely believe that I can do? Am I providing enough value? These are things that I'm just kind of navigating in my head, right? It's a different feeling because it's a different expression because I'm articulating it in the way of, this is what I'm just experiencing. So I think as guys, if we want to be more emotionally available, emotionally intelligent, and let's say you're on a date with a woman and she wants you to be more emotionally available, talk about, all right, what are we experiencing right now? What are you experiencing? Here's what I'm experiencing. And remember, then we listen, right? And we try to understand the other person's point of view. One of the biggest skills that I've learned throughout my 20s is trying to understand where other people are coming from, because everybody looks at the same situation just with a different lens. There's this great shift where focus is what you're looking at, perspective is where you're looking from, right? So if I'm looking at this cup, right, we're both looking at the cup, yet you're looking at it from this way and I'm looking at it from this way. You don't happen to see what this label is, you just see blue, right? So I think if we can understand that every single person is looking at things from their perspective, right? And if we can express what we're actually experiencing from that perspective, I think that can solve a lot of problems. And just being honest about it and just being open about it, not trying to be right, just be you in that moment. Like, just, this is what is going on. And so, I wrote down talking about feelings might make some guys cringe, replace it with, here's what I'm experiencing. And empathy is able to basically understand where are they coming from, right? Empathizing with somebody else. This is something that we use a lot of when it comes to dealing with difficult people in your life and trying to understand where could they be coming from right now, right? Most of the time it's not about you, it's about what they're experiencing in their life, right? Their personal life might be getting hectic and you just happen to be in the crosshairs and boom, you get crushed with the nasty emails, the nasty texts, the nasty calls, the nasty comments, when really it's not about you, it's about what's going on in their personal life, all right? So understand what could be going on that I just don't necessarily see, all right? What I wrote down is being able to describe your own experience and acknowledge someone else's, that is leadership, that is empathy, that's confidence, and that's also attraction. Section 4, being the real you. So I told this story once in a post, and I actually got a lot of comments on it, and I got a lot of got some really good engagement on it. I had a really good friend of mine who took this girl out on a date, and he told me that she was way out of his league, and he was like, "Dude, I can't even believe she said yes." He's like, "I'm super excited and I'm super nervous." He said that they had a great date together, and he's one of those guys who can just talk to any, extremely charismatic, very good personality. And they went back to his place and they sat down on the couch and he said, "Hey, could I just be honest with you about something?" She said, "Yeah." And he goes, "Sometimes you're a little intimidating. I think you're very attractive. I'm personally very attracted to you, and I'm just learning how to navigate the best to the best of my abilities. And I just want to say I had a really great time with you tonight. I really enjoyed what we talked about, and it was really great. It was really fun." And she said that it was the most attractive thing that any man had ever said to her, because he was just showing who he authentically was. And I think what this makes me think about is authenticity, how there's like the Instagram versus reality, where Instagram is like the 1% of our lives that look beautiful, right? Like, and I'll get super vulnerable right now. If you go on my Instagram, I try to post every single day something valuable for guys in the ages of 18 to 25 or moms who might have sons in that age. If you go on my Instagram, you might think, wow, DJ is exercising all the time. He's getting to speak on different stages, right? He's building this coaching business for guys 18 to 22, helping with stress, confidence, and habits, right? He talks about all of these what he thinks are important things in the world. This guy's got all of his shit together. Yet that's the 1% of my life that's pretty cool. The other 99% of my life is literally talking to parents who have really hard situations and they want their sons to have better male leaders in their lives. The other 99% is figuring out how to run a podcast like this. The other 99% is actually figuring what I should post today. The other 99% is the exercise and the nutrition and the sleep that really aren't that cool and aren't that fun. The other 99% is the emails, the texts, the DMs, the phone calls, the rejection, the failing of a sales call, and a mom saying, no, we're not doing this, or a son saying, no, I don't want to talk to you. I could probably do a better job of trying to authentically bring that out into the world. Yet, is that really what you want to see? Maybe it is, maybe it's not. And this is something that I'm personally trying to figure out. Like, this is the journey right now, right? I'm literally in the journey and I'm literally talking to you right now about it. And so that Instagram versus reality, you guys only see the cool things, right? The things that I think people would want to see. The other 99% is the trenches. It's the stuff that isn't that cool. Personally, it ticks me off. It's very frustrating. Yet entrepreneurship is, what did Elon Musk say? It was like staring into the abyss and chewing glass. I kind of see what he's talking about. Right? I'm not at that level of Elon Musk, obviously, yet I understand that mentality of there's a lot of uncertainty, right? You're literally just constantly testing and measuring things. And so that is me being authentic with you right now. And I talked about this earlier where, and the reason that we're talking about authenticity is because at the end of the podcast with Kailey, I asked her, I said, what is one thing that a guy can do to really be that guy? And she said, be yourself. Like, no bullshit, just be yourself. And the fear here is, if I am truly myself, what if they don't like me? And here's what I say to that. If you are truly yourself and they don't like you, good. You've just weeded that person out of your life. We don't need people in our lives who don't take us for who we truly are. We need people in our lives who love us for all of the good and all of the bad. All of the insecurities, all of the scars, all of the bruises, all of the things that we're working on, all of the things that we don't want others to know, yet we are okay with them knowing because we trust them, we care about them, and we love them. And so you don't need 500 people in your life. You don't need 50 people in your life. I think you need like a good 6 to 10. Some friends and some family and some colleagues, people that you genuinely care about, people who enhance your life for the better. And those are the people that you can just be your raw, authentic self with, and everybody else can just enjoy the show. And so that becomes very attractive to women or whatever you're attracted to, because remember, it's a representation of strength. It's a representation of who you are. And the more you try to avoid that, I think the more we try to live these fake lives, and people end up falling in love with the shell of us instead of the actual middle. And when they fall in love with the shell, that shell breaks sometimes. And that shell is fragile and it doesn't really have that good of a structure. Whereas the middle will never break. The middle will be a very solid core forever. And that's what people really want to hook onto. All right. So to end today's episode, all right, we talked about the ick, all right, with all the funny different examples that people sent in. Ick is really just it's something that is a turnoff, right? Things that we kind of, I think, have a hard time fully understanding what it is. Yet I think the easiest way to try to avoid that ick is just to be your authentic self. The right people will love you for exactly who you are. Power of listening, right? It's suppressing that ego and allowing other people to get what's in their head out into the world, and that feels really good. Emotional availability, coming from an angle of this is what I'm experiencing, not this is what I'm feeling, and seeing and empathizing with other people, seeing from their perspective of what they could be experiencing. And the last thing, being the real you, that authenticity. Don't have people fall in love with the shell, have them fall in love with the core, and the right people will love you for exactly who you are. All right. This was our follow-up episode to Kailey Mccafferty, episode number 184. If you guys have any questions or any comments about some of the things that I said, you are more than welcome to shoot me a DM, all right, at DJ Logory. That's DJ Logory. And I'm always open to some feedback or things that people kind of get from these episodes, because I got a lot of really big ideas of where this show can go. And so I want to take in as much as I can to make this something valuable that you guys want to tune into every couple of weeks. So once again, thank you so much. If you got some value out of today's episode, give it a like, give it a rating, review, share it to your friends and family. And until next time, keep being that guy, and we will talk to you guys soon. We'll see you.